Hello, my name is Phúc. I'm from University of Languages and International Studies, and I've been teaching English in here for more than 10 years. And today I'm going to share with you something about my research. It's called Fostering Learner Autonomy in Learning Vocabulary in EFL classrooms at level A2. So now let's begin. This is a table of contents. First, I'm going to present the reasons why I chose this title, and then I'm going to go quickly through the literature review and something about the research methods, how I conducted this research to find the results, and also finally to draw a conclusion. To draw conclusions and implications for teachers. And this is the rationale. Yeah, we all know that vocabulary, it is very, very important in learning any kind of language. And it is a key component of language proficiency because we know without vocabulary, nothing could be conveyed. We cannot communicate without vocabulary, okay? And but actually, in fact, vocabulary learning is one of the biggest challenges to foreign language learners, especially at low levels. Yeah, we all know. Yeah, one reason for this is that the students, they depend too much on the teachers. And in other words, the learning autonomy is limited to some extent. Somehow it is limited. So that's why we should improve the learner autonomy to achieve better learning outcomes. And in particular, to achieve better vocabulary learning outcomes. Okay, so these are the objectives of my study. This study focuses on investigating the impacts of autonomous learning methods on vocabulary learning outcomes, including both in-class activities as well as the assigned tasks outside the class hours. Okay, and in terms of scope, this study involves vocabulary learning only. I'm not just focusing. I'm not focusing on the other aspects or the other skills like listening or grammar. I just focus on vocabulary learning only. And this study was conducted with 28 students at level A2 from University of Languages, from University of Engineering and Technology. It is also a university member of Vietnam National University, and all the students are non-English majors. All right, so now let's go quickly through some main points in the literature review. In terms of learner autonomy, well, according to Little in 1991, learner autonomy involves decision-making, also detachment, in which means the learners, the students, they should rely on themselves, not on others. And it also involves critical reflection. That means the learners, they should know how to self-assess their progress with learner autonomy. And the final thing is independent actions. The learners, they should take independent actions during the learning process with autonomy. And but what about teachers' role? When the students, they learn by themselves, so what is the role of teachers? Actually, the role of teacher is not passive, it is also active in many ways, because we play a very important role in fostering the learner autonomy. While here it includes giving guidance, the detailed instructions, and the activities during class hours to foster their learner their autonomy, as well as building a supportive relationship right in class and after class. And one thing it is very important is to observe and evaluate the learning outcomes, because we all know that to know how effective this this method is, we should evaluate the effectiveness based on the data we collect, like tests, for example. And this is based on Lin and Render's study in 2019. Okay, so now let's move on to vocabulary learning process. These are the strategies to learn vocabulary adopted from Nations Research in 1997. The strategies here involves coping with unknown vocabulary, learning new words in isolation, as well as practicing productive vocabulary and gaining fluency in using known vocabulary. So the strategies here involves, the strategies involve both the new vocabulary, the new language input, as well as the the familiar language input, not just the new ones. And also, according to Nation, the vocabulary learning process involves, the vocabulary learning process, it is not an instant, or it is not an immediate process. It requires time. So we need to spend lots of time and energy and effort learning vocabulary throughout. So anyway, it is not an instantaneous process. Okay. And vocabulary learning process is based on the formation of specific habits. It is true that this process, it is related to the learner's habits. The learner's habits also have effects on on the process, like how fast it is, okay, and even how effective the process is, okay. And this process, the learning, vocabulary learning, it is a very, it is a long process, so it causes difficulties for learners, especially at low levels, because the learners at low English levels, they have to go through a long process with many stages in learning vocabulary, so it requires patience, which is very difficult for learners. And this involves 4 stages, including recognizing sounds and letters, understanding the meanings, remembering, and consolidation, as well as extension. So what about enhancing learner autonomy in vocabulary learning? Well, this of course requires encouragement from teachers. We should motivate our learners. Okay, they should study by themselves, but we should also stand by them and provide help. Okay, like giving vocabulary learning guidance and assigning vocabulary tasks after class, and then we should always observe and evaluate vocabulary learning outcomes to make learners realize how effective this process is, okay, and also to evaluate how effective learner autonomy is. And in terms of research methods, this study was tightly based on the test kit, including the vocabulary diagnostic test, as well as some regular vocabulary tests. And the most important thing is self-assessment and of course vocabulary test. I did require my students to self-assess their learning process. I let them to reflect how effective their learning process was, and how much they gained from these activities and my guidance. And then I use the test. I use the end of course test to evaluate and to assess my students, and to see how much they could make progress throughout the learning process. So again, this study involved 28 non-English majors at level 2, and it was conducted for 15 weeks throughout semester 1 in 2020. This is a way to find out the results. Okay, and here's the process. The the research was conducted both in class and outside the class hours. So during class hours, I always deliver the same pattern of vocabulary lessons. Yeah, following the PPP pattern: presentation, practice, and production. In which, in the presentation stage, the teachers introduce a situation and then present the target language, particularly key vocabulary in context. And for the practice part, the students, they practice the key content, the key vocabulary using the worksheets, and also review the key vocabulary with a side task right in class. And in the production part, the students, they make sentences with learned vocabulary and practice speaking and writing in real life communication. And the last two process, in the last two process, the students, they use the target language more independently. This is a way to foster their learner, their learning autonomy right in class. Outside the class hours, I also assign the vocabulary practice task using online platforms. Like I said, autonomy, learning autonomy at low levels, low English levels, does not mean leaving our students work alone and work by themselves all the time. I always give guidance and assign tasks. I mean the materials, and with detailed instructions. I will always stand by them and provide help and support whenever they need, even it is outside the class hours. So here's how it works. The students, they practice sentence making or paragraph writing on Padlet. Here they write short sentences using the learned vocabulary, as well as composing a short paragraph using the learned vocab. And I also provide them with the online quiz on quizzes.com. With the practice link, they can practice the quiz again and again to revise the vocabulary all the time, whenever they need, whenever they can. And finally, to produce a short talk using the vocabulary they learned on flipgrid.com. So in this, on this platform, they record a response using the learned vocabulary. And as for the topics, I just recommend some topics for them to base on. And also, I leave them, I leave them choose their own topics, of their own interest. So this is not compulsory in terms of topics. So with these online platforms, I believe that it really they really foster learner autonomy in learning vocabulary, like gaining fluency in using known vocabulary. So you can see some images from the online platforms like Padlet. Here you can assign some writing tasks, or you can leave your own learners choose the topics of their own interests. And this is a quiz. Here, self-study, with the topic food, and they can do this again and again with the link. You just have to, you just send them the practice link, okay? And they can re-attempt the quiz over and over. And this is the platform for recording a response, a speech, like here. The students, they could deliver, or they could upload more than one response on this platform. It's up. On this platform, it's very easy for them to practice day by day. Okay. So here's the findings. Here comes the findings. The findings are collected from the questionnaires, the interviews, my observations, and as well as the tests and assessments. So here's the student self-assessment. When I sent out the questionnaires and I conducted the semi-structured interviews with some students, here's the results that I collected. 6% for 6% of the students reported little improvement after they they apply autonomy. And yeah, the good news is that 30 students, they reported significant improvement, and most of the students, 64%, they reported steady improvement. So from this self-assessment, we could easily see that the students, they did realize and they did recognize how effective, the autonomous learning is, and then they can continue this way later on after the course. And here comes the vocabulary review test results. You can see only 5%, only 5% of the students achieve, they got below 50% of the accuracy in the vocabulary test. 17% 17% achieve 50 to 70% of the test, and 78% achieve more than 80 plus % in the vocabulary test. So it is very good news to me, because I myself know that the way I chose and the technique I chose to foster my students' autonomy works. It really works, so that I could apply this for my future classes. And also, this is a very good way to foster my students, my own students in this course, to move on in the next courses, not just this course. And the self-assessment and test results both show positive changes and the students' significant progress throughout 15 weeks. And here comes the findings for the assigned task. Wow, this is the students' feedback on self-study tasks. With 41% of the students that reported, they were in favor of online speech recording, and the other students, they didn't prefer this way because it took so much time. And 63% realized that, well, sentence making and paragraph writing were their preference. Okay, and 96% they were in favor of the online quizzes, because this is the quiz. It is quick, effective, and they can do whenever they want, just on their smartphone. So this could be done. This could be done and practiced anytime, anywhere, with just a smartphone. Okay, and apart from these, the students also reported some difficulties during their learning process, like a limited time. They didn't have enough time for practicing on Padlet, writing and speaking. So that's why not many students were in favor of these two platforms. And they also had some difficulties in long-term memory. They reported that their long-term memory was kind of poor, and they need more time to practice, and they need time to practice the learn vocabulary over and over again. And of course, low English level. It is it is really a barrier to their learning progress. And that's why the students, they prefer the online quizzes to review vocabulary and gain fluency in using known vocabulary. So that's all about the findings. Let's come to the conclusion. I believe for students, for learners at low English levels, autonomous learning should be structured and guided by a teacher. That means that we shouldn't provide extensive tasks. If we do, then try to keep it to the minimum, because at this level, the students, they still need our help, our detailed instructions, and even supervision. And of course, it is called autonomy, but we should not rely on our students' independence. We should also supervise and observe, and then test and evaluate their learning process. And to foster learner autonomy at the lower levels, teachers should provide supplementary materials with detailed instructions, like I said. And we should try to make use of online learning platforms to better learner autonomy. Because for my case, the online learning platforms really work, and it has saved time for me as well as for my students, and we can easily control of our students self-study outside the class hours. And finally, we should assess the effectiveness of autonomous vocabulary learning. So we should tightly based on the test kit. So in this way, we have a general idea. And this is a kind of reliable data for us to assess our learning and teaching process. So that's all for my study. So these are the references here. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I warmly welcome any question. So for any question, please send it to me at on our website. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.